were there some things, Bill, that they just wouldn't go along with?
Well, there were some things they didn't know about that we did in the film.
What if everything you thought you knew about Stripes was only half the story for over 40 years? It's made us laugh. But behind the chaos and comedy lies a version of the film you've never seen and a truth Bill Murray just recently revealed. From a lost Cheech and Chong script to a missed opportunity with Clint Eastwood. This isn't just a funny movie, it's a cinematic twist you never saw coming. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around because once you hear what really happened behind the scenes, you'll never look at Stripes the same way again. Before Bill Murray and Harold Ramis ever signed on, Stripes was written as a vehicle for another legendary comedy duo, Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong. At the time, Cheech and Chong were at the peak of their popularity, fresh off cult classics like Up in Smoke and Nice Dreams. Their signature brand of counterculture comedy was psychedelic, anarchic, and laced with marijuana-fueled absurdity. The original version of Stripes followed suit, a surreal, offbeat story about the stoners who accidentally enlist in the army. Early drafts even included an outrageous jungle trip in South America, full of hallucinations and drugged-out antics. But that version never happened, not because Cheech and Chong passed on it, but because they never got the chance, according to insiders. Their agent never forwarded the script to them. Instead, he reportedly demanded more money or greater creative control terms. The studio wasn't willing to meet, and just like that, the original vision for Stripes vanished. The psychedelic stoner comedy was shelved, and the filmmakers were forced to completely reimagine the film. Enter Bill Murray, coming off his success on Saturday Night Live and recent hits like Meatballs and Caddyshack. Murray was already a rising star, but Stripes would mark a major turning point. It would be his first true leading role in a major studio comedy, and he didn't just act, he transformed the film from the inside out. The character of John Winger, originally a spaced-out slacker, became a sardonic, world-weary everyman, a man who joins the army not out of duty or honor, but because he's hit rock bottom. Disillusioned and drifting, Winger sees the military as one last shot at purpose. Much of Winger's identity was shaped by Murray's genius for improvisation. His off-the-cuff humor injected the film with a dry, anti-authoritarian edge. Many of Stripes' most iconic moments weren't even in the script, they were created on set. Born from Murray's unique ability to turn even throwaway lines into comedy gold. Scenes were rewritten in real time, characters evolved mid-shoot, and the film slowly morphed from a conventional comedy into something far more layered. But Murray wasn't alone. His co-star and creative partner Harold Ramis brought his own brand of brilliance to the screen. Ramis played Russell Ziski, a thoughtful, soft-spoken school teacher who enlists solely to support his best friend, while Murray brought chaos and rebellion. Ramis brought calm and reason. He wasn't just a straight man, he was the heart of the film. His dry wit, perfect timing, and quiet emotional depth gave Stripes its soul. Together, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis redefined what a buddy comedy could be. Gone was the tired formula of the over-the-top clown paired with a humorless straight man. In Stripes, both leads were smart, funny, and brought their own unique energy to the screen. They didn't clash, they clicked. Their chemistry wasn't built on contrast but on mutual understanding and respect. Their friendship felt authentic, rooted in loyalty, shared rebellion, and a kind of emotional grounding that made audiences truly care about them. This fresh dynamic paved the way for future buddy comedies like Ghostbusters, Lethal Weapon, and even Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where humor and heart went hand in hand behind the camera. Though Stripes was anything but smooth sailing, the production was marked by chaos, spontaneity, and a flood of unscripted brilliance. With Bill Murray and Harold Ramis constantly riffing, experimenting, and veering off script, director Ivan Reitman had to become a master of flexibility. Scenes were reimagined in the moment. Blocking had to be adjusted on set. Dialogue was improvised freely, often throwing other actors off and forcing multiple takes. Some shooting days stretched far longer than scheduled, as cast and crew frequently broke into laughter mid-scene. What began as a straightforward comedy transformed into a whirlwind of creativity and unpredictability. In the end, the final cut of Stripes looked very different from the script that had initially been approved. Amid this creative storm, an unlikely supporter entered the picture: the United States Army. Despite Stripes poking fun at military life and authority, the Army offered extensive logistical support. They provided real tanks, helicopters, gear, and even granted access to Fort Knox for filming. Why? Military officials reportedly believed that Stripes, while humorous, might still serve as a light-hearted recruitment tool, perhaps they didn't fully recognize or chose to overlook how subversive the film's message really was. This support gave Stripes a degree of realism that elevated the satire. Scenes that might have felt cartoonish were grounded by authentic visuals, seeing John Winger, played by Bill Murray, joking his way through real military drills with actual soldiers and hardware behind him made the humor even more impactful. The absurdity of the characters stood in stark contrast to the genuine military setting, which only sharpened the film's rebellious edge, and yet, what audiences saw in theaters was only part of the story. The version of Stripes that hit screens left out several key scenes that would have added emotional complexity, entire subplots that delved into Winger's internal struggles, and deeper relationships were trimmed for time, sacrificing some vulnerability for the sake of pace. While the final film was sharp and hilarious, it only hinted at the richer, more layered story that might have been. One of the biggest omissions was a richer romantic subplot between Winger and Stella, portrayed by PJ Soles. In the final film, their relationship is mostly light and flirtatious funny, sure, but surface level. However, earlier versions of the movie included tender, emotionally revealing scenes that showed a different side of Winger. They revealed a man who wasn't just cracking jokes to survive the absurdity of army life, but someone quietly aching for connection, stability, and meaning. These scenes would have added real heart to the film, but were ultimately cut to preserve its fast pace and comedic momentum. Another deleted storyline focused on Winger's personal decline before he decided to enlist. These scenes depicted his emotional exhaustion, the collapse of his relationship, and his deepening disillusionment with life. This would have helped audiences understand why he joined the army, not out of duty or patriotism, but because he felt completely lost, while his sarcastic exterior remained intact in the final cut. This removed context would have made his character more complex and relatable. Perhaps the most drastic cut was the surreal South America sequence. This bizarre jungle adventure was a remnant of the film's original concept, which had been developed for Cheech and Chong. The sequence was full of psychedelic visuals and absurd humor, but it clashed with the grounded, satirical tone that Murray and director Ivan Reitman were aiming for. By removing this segment, the film took a definitive step away from stoner comedy and toward intelligent satire, one that used humor not just to entertain, but to critique authority, institutions, and the idea of conformity. After Stripes became a hit, Bill Murray was officially a leading man, no longer just the goofball from Saturday Night Live or the scene stealer from Caddyshack. He had proven he could carry an entire film with a combination of humor, depth, and star power. His next big opportunity came from none other than Clint Eastwood, who approached Murray about starring in a high-budget World War II Navy action comedy. The project had all the ingredients of a blockbuster epic scale, naval battles, and plenty of room for laughs. But Murray turned it down. Having just made a military comedy, he feared being typecast. He didn't want to be locked into uniformed roles or boxed into one kind of character. While he later admitted that declining Eastwood's offer was one of his biggest professional regrets, the decision ultimately pushed Murray toward more introspective and challenging roles. That shift began with movies like The Razor's Edge and Scrooged, and continued with his acclaimed work in Wes Anderson films such as Rushmore and The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. These roles let Murray explore characters who were layered funny on the outside, but deeply human underneath. It was a style first crystallized in Stripes, where John Winger wasn't just funny, he was real. Harold Ramis, too, found new ground after Stripes. His portrayal of Russell Zisky became the gold standard for the quiet, emotionally intelligent comedic partner. Instead of competing with Murray's wild energy, he anchored it. That dynamic helped reshape the buddy comedy genre, proving that sincerity and restraint could be just as powerful as loud, over-the-top humor. In the end, Stripes wasn't just a great comedy, it was a turning point for its stars, for the genre, and for the future of smart, heartfelt, rebellious humor in American film. What's most remarkable is that Stripes broke all these rules quietly. It didn't announce its intentions, it didn't ask for permission, it just was a chaotic, hilarious, heartfelt rebellion made by people who trusted their instincts, and in doing so, it became something timeless. So the next time you watch Stripes, remember it's more than just laughs, it's rebellion, friendship, and finding your way in a world that doesn't quite fit. If this story gave you a new perspective on a classic, like, share, and subscribe. For more untold film histories, hit that bell so you never miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.